the global financial system. It's huge, right? A massive, tangled web that feels almost impossibly complex. But what if you had a map, a clear way to actually see how all the pieces fit together? Well, today we're going to unpack a really powerful model that does just that, a 5-layer architecture that helps us understand the entire financial ecosystem. Yeah, this image pretty much sums it up, doesn't it? It's this dizzying network of capital, regulations, and tech, all moving at lightning speed. So how do we make sense of it all? The risks, the opportunities, and how a shock in one tiny corner of the world can ripple out and affect every single one of us. Well, that's the big question we're tackling today. So here's our game plan. We're going to build this map together, piece by piece, starting with 4 foundational layers. Then we'll look at how those layers crash into each other when things go wrong. After that, we'll introduce the 5th and arguably most important layer that holds it all together. And finally, we'll see why this map is such a vital tool for anyone trying to navigate the financial world.
All right, let's dive in and start building our framework. Think of this as laying down the fundamental geography of our map. These first 4 layers are the core structures of global finance, everything from the data it runs on to the real-world forces that constantly shape it.
First up, layer 1, information. This is the absolute bedrock. I mean, think about it. Every transaction, every stock price, every single financial decision depends on us trusting the data. We're talking about the simple trust that your banking app is showing you the right balance. This layer is all about making sure that information is secure and has integrity, fighting fraud, ensuring cybersecurity. If you don't have trust here, the whole thing just crumbles. Okay, so on top of that bedrock of trust, we have layer 2, infrastructure. And if information is the foundation, then infrastructure is the plumbing. These are the pipes, the operational backbones, the payment systems, the stock exchanges that let money and assets actually move around. We're talking about huge systems, like the global SWIFT network, which moves trillions of dollars every single day. It's the machinery that makes it all work. Next up is layer 3, innovation. This layer is what constantly redraws our map. It's the engine of the financial world, where technologies like AI, open finance, and even quantum computing are completely rewriting the rules. Just think about how fintech apps have totally changed how we do our personal banking. This layer creates amazing new opportunities, but, and this is a big but, it also brings brand new risks we've never even thought of before. And our 4th foundational layer is integration. This is the web that connects the financial system to, well, the real world. For example, a major climate event like a widespread drought doesn't just stay in one place. It can mess up supply chains and impact commodity prices all over the globe. These aren't just headlines, they're powerful forces that directly shape financial outcomes. This is where finance meets society and our planet. So we have our 4 layers, but here's the crucial point. They don't just sit there in their own little boxes. Nope, they are constantly interacting, creating these complex feedback loops. And it's those connections that can turn a small, isolated problem into a full-blown systemic crisis. Let's see how this actually works. Imagine a major cyber attack hits the information layer, right? Critical banking data is compromised. Well, that immediately slams into the infrastructure layer, and suddenly payment systems freeze up. What happens next? A crisis of confidence. People panic, triggering a massive market sell-off that spreads like wildfire across the globe through that integration layer. The result? It forces a response from our final overarching layer, governance. And that brings us to the most important piece of our entire map. Now, this isn't just another layer inside the system. Think of this as the meta layer, the set of rules, the institutions, the framework that oversees the entire ecosystem from above. This quote from the source material just says it all perfectly. Governance is the architecture. It's what determines the quality and the strength of all those connections we've been talking about. It's really the difference between a stable, resilient structure and a house of cards just waiting to fall over. So what does this architecture actually look like? Well, it's built on these 5 core ideas. Are the rules transparent so everyone can see them? Do different countries' standards work together, or do they clash? Is there any real coordination when a crisis hits? And are we building a system that's actually sustainable in the long run? How we answer these questions is really what decides whether we have global financial stability or not. Okay, so we've built our map, we've identified the absolutely critical role of governance. But let's bring it back to the real world. Why does this actually matter? How can you use this framework to better navigate the crazy world of finance? This is where the map becomes a really practical tool. So take that first pattern on your screen. Amplification of risks across layers. With this map, a regulator can see they need to do more than just stress test banks. They need to model how a cyber attack could cascade through the entire system. And for an investor, it means you should be building those same cross-layer scenarios into your own risk models. It makes these hidden risks visible in a completely new way. So here's the bottom line. You now have a mental model, a map to make sense of what's happening in global finance. So the next time you read a headline, whether it's about a new fintech regulation, a sovereign debt crisis, or a climate finance deal, you can place it on the map. You can see how it connects to the other layers, and you can understand what it really means. And that brings us to our final question for you. We've given you the map, a new way of seeing the financial world. So now we're turning it over to you. Looking at how information, infrastructure, innovation, integration, and governance all interact, where do you see the biggest fault lines? And maybe more importantly, where do you see the next great opportunities?